When we're thinking about all of the setups, let's say for our account structure and our chart of accounts and how documents and transactions are linked together, we have what are called in GP source documents and audit trail codes, rather. Whereas in BC, we have the same, but it's a source code and a number series. You do also have audit trails in BC, but that happens on the background, what's called the UI application and the AL source code. That's a little bit more technical for those technical people. We can have another demonstration for that at another time. But for right now, what I'm going to do is take you through and show you the way those are set up in the windows that they're set up in. Keep something in mind. From an accounting and a software perspective, GP and BC uses GAAP rules. So you can trust and rest assured that they're going to perform the same way. So let's switch over. Let's look back at our BC GP combination. All right, let's go into GP and look at our source documents. So source documents, you can set these up, right? You set them up here on this window, you define what they are. This source document then tells the audit trail setup what documents are associated with transactions and processes that are occurring in GP. And we find our audit trail codes here. So back in administration, audit trail codes. And for finance, notice our audit trail codes. So for those of you that do reporting in the GL and you see transactions come through the GL that have these codes, this is where you will find out what they're doing, why it's this code here. Now, when that transactions hits the GL, this is when you will see that code. So if you're looking at distributions in GP and wondering, okay, where do they come from? And that's another thing. BC doesn't call an account a distribution. It's just your posting group. So in terms of a audit trail in GP to a source document, they do the same thing in BC, but they're looked and called different. So we have two things that we're going to look at, a number series and a source code. So your number series in BC links to your source document. And then in the background, the source document will, and the number series will link and create an audit trail. You could do reporting and so on and so forth with that. So let's go to the first place, your source code. Now, these source codes are automatically installed into BC when you do migrate or you just purchase BC. So a lot of these things come out of the box for you, but you can add more, just like you can do with GP. GP comes the same way. Everything is out of the box. You can go add, remove, so on and so forth. Now, it is encouraged that should you change any of these, just like in BC, you make sure that you're not changing the structure of what's happening within BC or BC itself. To that fact, GP and BC are the same. Now, these are all of your source codes. You can get very intricate in the way you set them up and assign them. That is a deeper dive. We'll take a venture on that another day. But it's the same methodology. Okay, so you can rest assured if you're thinking of going from BC to GP and you are the person that does all of the setups in the company, you're not going to lose a lot of your foundation. It's still there. You just need to understand how to link it together and know the difference between the two softwares. And it's actually quite simple once you get a feel for the environment. So the other place we want to look at is our number series. So let's go back out. Now you can do the search like I showed you before to get to your number series. Me personally, I like to bookmark everything, but let me show you how to bookmark really quick so you can see it on your home page. If I type in number series, see here, I've added the bookmark. As I add it, I can also take it away. So let's go ahead and go into that since we're, let's go back to our audit trail code here. And I'm also going to open in GP my sales setup, just so I can give you a one-to-one idea. So as you know, in GP, you have two types of setups. You can do your receivable setup and you also have a sales order processing setup. So to understand both of these, I'm going to get to the right. Let's go to order document. Okay. And then we open another window. Receivables options. And let me close some of this. All right. So if we were looking at a one-to-one from what GP does versus what BC does in terms of assignment of source documents and audit trails, this is where you look. This is how you can easily say, oh, I know what that is, like I did when I started learning. As you notice, you have a code here. This is the code that will show up on your document when it is posted. Okay. Also, notice you have your starting number. I want you to look in at the right at BC, I'm sorry, at GP. The acronyms, I tell you, I keep getting confused at times. Okay, so my order ID. Now, GP's order ID, notice your order ID here. That is your code in BC. Your next number is your last used versus your ending number. If you notice, this is the last document that I posted here. GP will give you the next document in order. So where reporting comes into play, it's a little bit easier in BC to do reporting. We're going to do another webinar for reporting at a later date. But I want you to notice the relationship. In BC, I could do all of this in one window to set this up. And the assignment, I will go out to the setup card in BC to do the same thing. So let's go look at, now this is where I set everything up. So if you remember back to the window I had up here, let's take you back to my audit trail and my source document. All right. So if I were to go into my sales and receivables setup in BC, when I create my number series, and I'll go to, see here, sales receivable setup. If you look down to the bottom a little bit, I have number series. Here's where I assign my number series to my transactions for this module. That in GP is this here. So look to your right under document defaults. That is your number series. Same thing with receivables. All right, here's my code, my description. It's my number series in BC.